All right, so we've been talking a lot about congruent polygons, so let's get a formal definition of what that is. And then we're going to have two working definitions that we're going to consider throughout this class. The first one is this idea of reflections, rotations, and translations. And those are called rigid transformations. So if we have a series of rigid transformations, so just any set of rigid transformations, where we could send one shape to the other using those transformations, then the two polygons are congruent. And mapping just means it's sending all of the parts from one to the other. Then the two polygons are congruent. So that's that idea of we've been looking at transformations. So in other words, it kind of makes sense. A lot of you guys think, hey, if I could make this picture, I'm going to put the little markings here so we don't lose sight of what we're doing. Through a rotation, if I could send this over here, then those two polygons are congruent. So we're going to need a little bit of construction in order to do that, and we'll take a look at that later. However, the other definition that we can use is if all the parts are congruent. So all corresponding parts of any polygon, so if I can show all of them match up, or all of them are equal, so all corresponding parts are congruent, then the two polygons are congruent. Okay, so for example, if I have two shapes like this, I have two triangles, let's call it A, B, C, D, E, F. So if I can show that all of these parts are congruent, then I can make this conclusion that the two triangles are congruent. So for example, if A and D are congruent, and notice I'm making these little markings identifying that those are the sections that are congruent. So I'm just going to kind of go around the triangle, and I'm showing you that all of the angles and all of the sides are congruent to each other. If that's the case, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then I can conclude that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. And notice I went in the order of the matching or corresponding parts. These A and D correspond to each other, therefore A and D are going to match each other the way I write them as well. All right?